So this week's video is going to be a bit different from my normal videos because of a few things, one in particular, that have happened recently which have made me really think about the bigger picture in life and the bigger picture which really underlies what I'm trying to do on this channel. So apologies in advance if I get a bit upset when I record this. It's Monday and to be honest it's been a bit of a crazy weekend. So this is Rudy, by the way. He's our Rottweiler. He's just here for a bit of moral support. So it should have been a pretty normal weekend. I did 2 shifts doing my normal work, but on Saturday evening our other dog died. It was a pretty sudden thing. My wife came home on Saturday evening to find that he was struggling with his breathing. She checked that he wasn't choking, he wasn't, so she called me. I came straight home. It became pretty clear that things were really bad. So we called out our vet who came home. He came to our home and he thought that his larynx had become paralyzed because apparently that can happen sometimes. We made the decision to have him put to sleep. He was right here on the sofa where I'm now sitting. Now I'd known Leo for about 13 years, which is pretty much the same amount of time that I've known my wife. In fact, they came as a pair, or more accurately, a double act. But he was nearly 15 when he died, which I think we can all agree is a pretty damn good age. Leo was kind of fast in his day. He was, after all, 3/4 greyhound, and despite the fact that he'd slowed down a little bit in recent years, he was still enjoying his walks, and he still jumped up from wherever he was lying down as soon as he heard me pick up his lead. We knew Leo was really old and that we probably didn't have long left with him, but for his age, he was really pretty healthy. He didn't have any major illnesses in his entire life. And that's what this video is about. It's about living a long and healthy life. Now, I deal with death and dying on a regular basis because of my job. I spend the majority of my professional life working as a home visiting doctor, and that means I go to the homes of people who are physically unable to get to the clinic in order to see a doctor. So most of the patients I go to fit into one of 3 groups. The first are people in nursing homes, usually pretty elderly. Many of these people, they're primarily in care due to the fact that they have dementia. The second major group of patients are people I see who are in the last few weeks or maybe days of their lives, often because they have cancer, and it's my job to help keep them as comfortable as possible during their dying days. And the third group of patients are people who are housebound due to chronic illnesses such as obesity, arthritis, heart disease, strokes, or commonly people who are having complications related to type 2 diabetes. Often these people are much younger, and it's not uncommon to see people in their 50s and 60s who are housebound for these reasons. And most of this weekend I spent seeing patients just like this, but this weekend I also met someone who was in their late 90s, who was living on their own, living completely independently, still going out to the shops and having a very active social life with great relationships with neighbours and friends who'd come over on a regular basis. They hardly took any regular medications because they didn't have any significant health problems, just some age-related hearing loss. And the only reason I was even there was because they had a bad vomiting bug and just couldn't leave the house. Honestly, they didn't look a day older than 80. I also remember seeing a guy about a year ago who was 102 and still drove himself from the local village into town every day to go and meet his friends for lunch. Again, completely independently. And I do meet people like this from time to time, and I just think, wow, it must be amazing to be living this long life and still be in really good health despite nearly being a century old. And this is what people mean when they talk about a long health span and not just a long lifespan. The goal is not to live a long life. The goal is to live a long, healthy life. I was chatting to a friend recently who had been reading a lot about this subject, and he told me that people in the 1800s actually lived longer, healthier lives than we do today, when you correct for the fact that many people used to die young of infectious diseases that we can now easily treat. And I found this really shocking, but it doesn't surprise me. The modern world isn't really one that humans are meant to thrive in. I mean, the food we eat and the resulting rates of obesity and diabetes, the work we do and the cars we used to get around in that mean most of our lives are sedentary, the stress we carry with us on a day-to-day basis, and how the modern world is, supposed to be less stressful because of all the technological advances which are supposed to make our lives easier. Yet, in fact, we actually seem to be more pushed for time than ever. And sleep deprivation's become a badge of honor in the modern world. And so often our health services are just trying to paper over the cracks with pills rather than addressing the underlying causes of our illnesses. And that's ultimately what this channel is all about. It's about the quest to live not only a long life, but a long, healthy life. So why start with weight loss? It's because, to me, being overweight is one of the first signs that something is not right in our bodies. And whilst for many years we've thought of it just as a problem of consuming too much food and not doing enough exercise, I think it's much more helpful to think about it as an early sign that something is going wrong with your metabolism. And we know that issues with our weight are strongly linked with things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes, but also with cancer, with obesity being the second highest risk factor for cancers. So I make no apology for the core focus of this channel being about weight loss. For me, weight loss is only partly about looking better. I'd be lying if I said it's not got anything to do with it, but it's got everything to do with increasing health span. So losing weight for me was the trigger to really start getting my health in order. I didn't really start exercising until over a year after I'd lost the majority of my excess weight. It's only now that only for the last year and a half, that exercise has really been a key part of my everyday life. So I feel stronger than ever, and I'm more motivated than ever to try my best to live a long, healthy life. Not only do I eat better and take more regular exercise now, I prioritize my sleep and I make much more of an effort to structure my life in a way that is as free from stress as I can make it. Because yes, I do want to get old, but I want to be healthy in my old age as well. Whilst there's no guarantees in life, I might die in a car crash tomorrow, we can't just go through life saying I may as well live for today because tomorrow might never come, because more often than not, it does. And believe me, because I spend much of my life helping people who are effectively disabled because of conditions that are preventable, it's a real struggle. And life may be short, but it's the longest thing you'll ever do. So you may as well try it and stay as healthy as you can for as long as you can. It isn't easy, it won't happen by itself, and you've got to work at it. And you've got to make your health a priority if you want to stand a chance at having a long health span. I'm going to leave it there for this week. Next week I'll be back on track with the normal, more practical videos about the how-to behind everything I've been talking about this week. If this week's video has at all struck a chord with you and you want to keep up to date as I release new videos, which I do every Tuesday by the way, then please hit the subscribe button and click on the bell to get a notification when a new video is out. If you've enjoyed this video, then please feel free to give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the things I've just talked about in this video. Hit me up in the comments section and I'll do my best to respond to all your comments. See you next week.